Let me just. Banjo on my knee. I am divided banner with the banjo on my knee. I should have a banner with a banjo on my knee. Alrighty. Let's see. All right. I gotta make sure all the you know what I'm saying? All the sounds are sounding, you know what I'm saying? Let's see if anybody comes in. Probably not. All right, we got some people showing up. We got some people showing up. So, all right. So this one sounds crazy. We got 4 missing persons found alive on video. Let's get it. Let's jump right in.
21, a woman named Malie Perales was driving down the Packer Drive Northeast Road alongside the Rogue River in Belmont, Michigan.
Ooh, I'm from Michigan. I'm from
On
Michigan.
their way back after a night out, and they were all in a cheerful mood. However, their smiles quickly vanished as they stumbled onto a horrifying scene. At around 2:30 a.m., while driving near the road,
Yo, Michigan gets crazy when it's dark out. Like, there's not like too many big cities. Like, unless you live like right around the Detroit area, most of it's pretty dark in those like suburban and rural areas. Like a lot of it gets pretty dark in those woods. It's just a ton of trees in Michigan. That's all it is. So it's scary driving at night.
Hollow Court, one of the passengers spotted a strange figure lurking by the side of the road. This encounter was extremely terrifying, but it also sparked the group's curiosity. And after some deliberation, they decided to turn around, and this is what they then came across.
What the? Stop.
Oh my God.
What the?
Oh my God. Okay. Are you guys stopping? Are you guys stopping if you see that? Because like, if you see something creepy on the side of the road, chances are you're not going to want to stop. But if somebody needs your help, like, are you just going to pass them up? Are you going to be the guy who just doesn't stop to help them? It could be a trap, but like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm stopping. I don't know. I want to think I'm a good person. But that's hard. That's hard to just like stop like that.
They saw what looked
Soaked?
like a young woman drenched from head to toe as if she had just crawled out of the nearby river. She also looked like she was crying, banging her head on the road and waving for help. Malie posted the video of this
Oh my
encounter on
God.
TikTok, and it instantly went viral, leading people to come up with all sorts of far-fetched theories about ghosts, spirits, etc. However, as wild as the theories got, Malie later
Posting it on TikTok before calling the cops is crazy. Like literally that's crazy. You should call somebody. You should at least stop the car and like roll down the window and talk to them and see what's going on. You don't have to get out of the car or anything like that, but just at least see what's going on.
posted several videos shutting them down and revealing what really happened. According to her, they kept circling back and driving past the disturbed woman several times after recording the first video to make sure she was okay.
Oh, okay,
While
that's
none of
good.
them had the nerve to get out of the car and approach her, they did call the cops and waited nearby until help arrived.
Oh, okay, okay.
The woman was then taken
Good.
to a nearby hospital where she was treated for cold exposure. As it turns out, she somehow fell into the Rogue River from the east side and swam across it onto the road.
Yep, she had to have come up out of the water. Yep, there's a dig spot there. So she came up from down there. That's had to have been why she was so wet.
It's
This was the
still
spot
wet?
that she had left. I don't know why or what was going on.
After regaining some composure, she also revealed that the woman was from Kalamazoo, a town that's over 60 miles from where she was found. However, she had no recollection of how she got to Belmont and fell in a river so far away from home. From what we know, she was most likely experiencing a severe mental break, where her memory gap was caused by a rare condition known as fugue state, something we covered in our previous video on the most disturbing mental disorders. For those who don't know, a fugue state is a rare condition where a person suddenly loses their memory and starts acting like someone else. They might wander off, travel long distances, or do things completely out of character without realizing anything is wrong. It's
Oh,
usually
dang.
triggered by extreme stress or trauma, and once it's over, the person often has no memory of what happened. And while this
Oh, that's
condition is
terrifying.
quite rare, all the signs suggest that's exactly what happened to this mysterious woman from Kalamazoo, especially since the authorities later found her car parked behind a random house just east of the river. She likely drove to that neighborhood on her own but had zero memory of doing so,
Oh.
which fits perfectly with the known symptoms of fugue state. Malie also shared her video in a local Facebook group, hoping to find more answers.
When you're in a fugue state, how can you drive? Like, does it impair your ability to drive, like your motor function and everything? Like, I know it's like after the fact you don't remember anything, but when you're in it, are you cognizant of what's going on? Like, what are you thinking about?
About what went down. Unfortunately, the responses she received weren't as helpful as she'd hoped, since most people in the neighborhood believe the screaming and noises were just the sounds of a wild animal, like a coyote. But there were a few responses that deepened the mystery.
Coyotes do sound
like this
crazy,
one
though.
person who remembered meeting her earlier that same night, stating, "Saw this person between Van Dam and Packer Woods around 10:15 p.m. Friday. Asked her if she needed help, to which she responded no." Another person also mentioned hearing about a woman walking into his neighbor's house, yelling hello 3 times and then leaving on her own. And while this added further evidence supporting the fugue state theory, these responses still left a key question unanswered. Who was she? Malie tried to contact both the police and the hospital for answers, but despite her insistence, both the police officers and the hospital staff refused to reveal her real name. That said, we still have enough information to make an educated guess. Based on everything I could uncover, the mysterious woman in this unsettling video was most likely Mei Zhou. She was a 28-year-old Chinese woman who went missing from Kalamazoo on May 6, 2021. Before her disappearance, she told her friends that she felt like she was being followed by a stalker she met online. Unfortunately, these are the only details about her case that were made public. I couldn't find
Dang.
any clear answers on whether the
So do you think she was kidnapped? Was she actually in a fugue state, or was she kidnapped? Or was she like schizophrenic and thinking that somebody was following her? That's freaky.
stalker was real or if she was just overwhelmed by paranoia. In either case, the constant fear and stress of feeling watched likely drove her to slip into some variation of the fugue state we discussed earlier. Hopefully she received the mental help she desperately needed and is now in a better mental state than she once was.
That's got to be a terrible feeling to feel like you're being watched.
Tracking down a missing person can be an extremely daunting task, but tracking down a person's personal information often
please.
much more. Whoever most people
Once
buy
I heard the music, I
What's
knew it
her
was an
origin
ad. I was like,
without
what?
Without request
Not the
on
vibe.
site web and theft.
Not
In
the
June
vibe.
of 2024, streamer Lacey and his friend Clicks were doing an IRL live stream in Miami, Florida. The two were simply going around town and having fun. What they didn't realize was that this stream would end up saving someone's life. It happened a few hours into the stream when they sat down at the Starlight Hotel Cafe for lunch. As they waited to order, a guy walked up to their table wearing nothing but neon green shorts. Lacey and Clicks initially assumed he was just another fan eager to talk to his favorite streamers, a pretty typical scenario for popular IRL streamers. But something about this young man didn't sit right. He was trying to keep a conversation going, but his words were slurred and nothing he said really made sense.
Yo, you good, bro? Yo, what?
The streamers figured he was either drunk or on some kind of drugs. For
Yeah, that's not
content,
just
they
drunk.
started poking fun at him a bit before shifting their focus back to their stream. But the guy continued to linger around, acting very odd and saying unintelligible sentences for the next half hour or so before
It's like
finally leaving
benzos
them
or
for
opiates
good.
or something.
The streamer simply labeled it as an odd interaction from someone under the influence of something or another and continued on with their stream. Lacey later uploaded an edited down version of this stream on his YouTube channel. And that's when he got an email that made him realize the significance of what they had just caught on camera. 2 days after
dang.
this video went up, Lacey received an email from a man named Trent claiming to be the brother of the guy seen in green shorts. It read, "Hello, my name is Trent Coleman and my missing little brother
From Michigan. Why is it always Michigan, bro? Oh my God. What's going on in Michigan? We got to get it together.
on Clicks and Lacey's stream in Miami.
Gotta
He
protect
was
our
wearing
people.
Green shorts and they were making fun of him. He is not on drugs. He is schizophrenic and he is 17 years old. If someone can contact me about this, I would be so thankful.
Oh,
He has been
man.
missing for 3 months and his case was put on homicide in Michigan. In most cases, emails like these are just trolls trying to mess with creators. However, after
What are
some
the
research,
chances
Lacey discovered
he reads
Trent
that
was
email?
actually telling the truth and posted this new development on Twitter stating, 3 months ago, a 17-year-old kid went missing and was put on homicide. Yesterday on
I hope
stream,
they
he
find
came
him.
up to me and Clicks, and now his family knows he is alive and in Miami. I wasn't sure if I should make this public, but I'm hoping somehow this helps him be found for his family." In a reply to his tweet, Lacey also attached an article that provided additional details about the case. Apparently, the teenager's name was Troy Coleman, and he had been missing from his home in Michigan since May of 2024. According to the article, Troy was last seen in Mount Morris Township around 9:30 a.m. on May 17th.
Yo. Yo. I live right next to Mount. Like I don't know if I want to say exactly where I live, but that's pretty close to where I'm from, to be
Months since his
honest.
disappearance, he had somehow traveled from Michigan all the way to Miami with no
That's
medication,
crazy.
no money, and no clear explanation of how he got there. This was extremely concerning considering Troy's lack of vital medication for his schizophrenia was known to cause serious hallucinations. His sudden reappearance only deepened the mystery. With no leads and no logical
Man.
explanation, Michigan police were left so baffled that
Yo,
they
Flint,
even began
yeah, see?
investigating his case as a potential homicide. So, the fact that Troy randomly appeared on Lacey and Clicks' stream and his brother just so happened to be watching that stream was nothing short of a miracle. But somehow, the coincidences keep piling up, and what happened next made the whole situation even stranger. While Troy was still on stream, another young fan approached the two streamers and tried to strike up a conversation. However, before he could even introduce himself, Troy interrupted them again and started saying something to the younger fan. He was still talking incoherently, which made the streamers even more uncomfortable and confused about
That's a
his
tough
intentions.
situation, man.
During
Wait,
this time,
wait,
he also
what?
made the streamers
Did
even
you just
more
hand him
uncomfortable and confused about
drink?
his intentions. To introduce himself, Troy interrupted
Yo,
them
why-
to
why'd that
streamers
kid
even
just
more
hand-
uncomfortable and confused about
Why'd
his
that kid just take that
intentions.
drink?
During this time, he also gave the
That's
younger
crazy.
fan the styrofoam cup he was holding. The young boy quickly took a sip of whatever was in the cup and walked away. Lacey's cameraman noticed the exchange and immediately pointed it out to the streamer. By now, they were convinced that Troy was on drugs.
Never take somebody's drink and drink. I don't care if it's soda or anything. The germs. Just don't even take somebody's cup and drink it like that. Even if you're a kid, I feel like you should know that. That's kind of crazy.
And that raised a serious concern. Had he just given the kid something laced? Not wanting to ignore it, Lacey decided to confront Troy, asking him directly what was in the cup. But to their surprise, Troy's answer was a lot more coherent than expected. He simply stated that it was just a soft drink from Beacon Hotel.
What was in the drink? What was in that drink?
In the drink?
Yeah. You gave it to Lou.
It was Coke from Beacon Hotel.
Like Coca-Cola? Making sure. You gave it to the kids.
I gave it to a kid.
This coincidental interaction gave authorities the crucial lead they needed. Troy was, in
Man,
fact, staying
mental
at the
health
very
is
hotel
crazy.
he had mentioned. From there, it didn't take long for investigators to track down Troy and reunite him with his family, who were overjoyed to have him back. In a later interview with People.com, Troy's father, Weston Coleman, shared even more heartbreaking details of what Troy went through. According to him, Troy actually wanted to visit Florida to find and meet celebrities. He did his research online and saved up as much money as he could before setting off. Troy made it to Atlanta by bus, but that's where things took a turn for the worst. During his stay in Atlanta, he was robbed of everything he had.
Oh.
Left with nothing, he traveled the rest of the way to Miami completely broke.
Oh my
Despite the
God.
hardship, his family was ultimately glad that he was still alive and well, with his father stating, "I'm just glad he's alive at this point and now can't believe we found him. We all feel a lot better and we thank everybody." From what I can find, that Troy's been living with his family in Michigan ever since and has managed to stay out of any more trouble. On August 3, 2013, 40-year-old James DiMaggio invited family friend Christina Anderson and her 2 kids, 8-year-old Ethan and 16-year-old Hannah, over to his home in Boulevard, California. He claimed it was just a farewell visit before moving to Texas. And this wasn't anything unusual. James had been a close friend with both Christina and her husband Brett for quite some time and was like an uncle to the kids. And since Brett was away for a 3-month job in Tennessee, James helped the family regularly with things like driving Hannah to and from her gymnastics class. However, what seemed like an innocent invitation quickly turned into a horrifying nightmare.
Oh no.
It started on August 4 when the children's grandparents called the police and reported the family as missing after not hearing from Christina all day. They also informed the police about the family's plan to visit James. However, when investigators reached James's home, it was already engulfed in
Oh my
flames.
God.
Firefighters rushed to the scene and suppressed the fire. Unfortunately, they were too late. Inside the burnt house, they discovered the bodies of Christina Anderson, her son Ethan, and even the family dog.
Oh my God. Being burnt alive has got to be one of the scariest things to me. Like, yeah, even to just putting your hand on a stove is like a terrifying feeling when you realize you're being burnt. And it's just so like shocking. But like to have like 3rd-degree burns that you can't get away from, you can't pull away from it, and your whole body is just engulfed in flames. You're choking on smoke. That's just a terrible way to go out. I can't even imagine that.
And while this could have been nothing more than a tragic accident, the reality was far more cruel. Later autopsy discovered severe injuries on Christina.
no,
These
he did it on
included signs of
purpose.
plastic cable ties around her ankle and arms, duct tape marks around her neck and mouth, multiple fractures in her right arm and both legs, a cut on her neck, and signs of at least 12 heavy strikes to the head. Her 8-year-old son Ethan also had multiple fractures throughout his body.
Oh my
However,
God.
despite the
How can
horrific
people
scene,
be
there
so
were no
cruel?
signs of James or Hannah anywhere near the house. It didn't take long for investigators to connect the dots and realize that James DiMaggio was the mastermind behind this horrific crime. It also became clear that he had orchestrated the murders not just out of violence, but with the intent to kidnap Hannah. His actions were calculated and driven by some twisted obsession as he took her from everything she had in her life. After learning about this, the police quickly issued a statewide Amber Alert in hopes of getting any information regarding James and missing Hannah's whereabouts. In the meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James missing Hannah's whereabouts.
She was
In the
16?
meantime, investigators also discovered security footage of James passing through the Border Patrol checkpoint in Pine
And he was
Valley at around
40.
10
Oh my
p.m.
God.
This also prompted them to launch a massive manhunt spanning the entire Pacific coast from British Columbia to Baja, California. However, despite the massive effort and the hundreds of man-hours put into the search, the manhunt turned up empty. Every lead seemed to result in a dead end, and the odds of successfully rescuing Hannah...
The thing about those signs that you see like on the highway that say like abduction or child abduction or whatever, like it's so hard to like remember those license plates when you're driving by. It's so hard to remember the descriptions. And even if you do, like I feel like the odds of actually taking that information and using it to like actually check a vehicle and then decide if you're going to call it in or not are so low. I just don't understand how effective those things are. Maybe they are very effective, but I just feel like at least when I'm driving and I see that, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to like figure that out. There's no way I'm going to be able to find the missing vehicle even if I see it.
started to dwindle with every passing day. Things looked bleak. That is, until 3 days later when 2 horseback riders spotted a man and a girl while trekking through the remote wilderness of Cascade, Idaho. They had
horses.
seen the broadcast of Hannah's disappearance on TV and instantly recognized the young girl and her captor.
Oh, wow,
They reported
okay.
the sighting to authorities, who instantly began
pictures are
investigating
better.
the area. And soon after, they found James's car with its plates removed to avoid detection. However, it still took them 3 more days to track down the campsite James was hiding in. The FBI had set up a jet with a sophisticated long-range camera recording.
Yo, so like if they're like, did he tie her up or something, or did she go willingly? Because like, if he has to sleep at some point. So if he's sleeping, like I don't know, are you allowed to like kill your kidnapper? to get away. I feel like that should be allowed. If somebody kidnaps you, you should be able to just like bash them in with a rock or something like that. I don't know. Cause like if your only option is to get them while they're sleeping and try to escape, then I feel like you should be able to do that.
From thousands of feet above, which is what you're seeing now. This footage confirmed they had found the missing Hannah. On the 10th of August, the FBI took it upon itself to rescue Hannah and mobilized a tactical team for the mission. They kept eyes on James for some time, looking for the right moment to attack. However, he was sticking close to Hannah, which made it near impossible for the rescue team to make their move. Fortunately, after some time, James moved away to gather some firewood. And while he was completely oblivious, Hannah actually spotted a rescue helicopter and started waving for help. This was the perfect opportunity, and the FBI didn't let it go to waste. They quickly moved in and carried Hannah to safety. After noticing the rescue mission, James took out one of the guns he had with him and fired at an officer. The rescue team then returned fire, resulting in him getting shot 6 times in the head, arms, and upper torso. Hannah was finally safe. And while this was one of the most terrifying experiences a teenage girl can have, Hannah's managed to completely bounce back. She is now 27 years old and is happily living with her husband and 1-year-old son in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, man.
On the 27th of May, 2013,
good for her. Good for her.
4 p.m., 73-year-old Robert McDonough disappeared from his home in Portland, Maine. Now, an elderly person going missing is extremely stressful on its own. However, what made Robert's situation even more dire was the fact that he was also suffering from dementia.
Ooh.
For those who don't know, dementia is a mental condition which makes it difficult to remember things, think clearly.
That's got to be like one of the saddest ways. One of the saddest like natural ways to lose a grandparent or a parent. Like just having them forget things that they usually remember, like core memories, forget who you are eventually. That just has to be the most gut-wrenching feeling ever, and just so heartbreaking. Like you always imagine that you're going to be able to say goodbye and have like a perfect goodbye with your loved ones, but for just the last chunk of their life to be them deteriorating and forgetting who you even are, I just have to feel like that's got to be one of the worst feelings as a child or a grandson or daughter. I'm not a daughter, but you know.
Or even recognize familiar faces. People with dementia can forget everything from their own names to the faces of loved ones, leaving them confused about where they are or how they got there. This can also extend to forgetting where they live. For someone with dementia, wandering outside can quickly turn from a harmless mistake to a life-threatening situation. A person with memory loss isn't just lost in terms of direction, they're lost in terms of identity and awareness. They forget how to care for themselves, how to recognize danger, and how to make decisions in an increasingly hostile world. These conditions could prove to be lethal for a healthy young adult, and the danger is increased tenfold for a frail elderly man trying to navigate a world that no longer makes sense to him. He could have easily wandered into traffic or tripped and fallen in a remote area, and no one would have known. Put simply, Robert's life was in extreme danger. This is also why the authorities moved quickly after receiving the missing report and began searching every corner of the city within
hours. And they
hours
probably don't know to ask for help too, which is the scariest part.
More than 14 hours searching an area of Leamington after 73-year-old Robert McDonough, who has dementia, disappeared Monday afternoon. Around 6 a.m., search teams were briefed and started to intensify their effort.
It was going into the second operational period, which means we're starting to ramp up, using a lot of GPS technology. Well, again, we'd have our pilots, we'd have ATVs, canines.
However, they were having a hard time figuring out where Robert could have gone. When someone with dementia goes missing, searching for them is not like searching for someone who's just wandered off. In most cases, they don't even realize they're lost at all. They might walk aimlessly or even retrace the same steps without ever reaching familiar ground. Their confusion can send them in any direction, far from where they should be. But then, about 14 hours into the search, something happened that no one saw coming. On May 28 at 6:30 a.m., a reporter from Portland's local network was recording a section about the disappearance of Robert on the street, when, out of nowhere, an old man walked into the frame.
Yo! He's just walking up so chill. They're just like waiting for him to pass, not even realizing
At first, the reporter
he's
brushed
missing.
him off as just another bystander. But after a few moments, he suddenly realized who the elderly man was. This was Robert McDonough, or Bob as he went by, the man everyone was looking for.
I must have missed a miss.
Anybody give a
When they
phone
were-
call?
Calling the warden service. They're at the
I'm still on the phone.
This is Bob. This is you identify him as Bob McDonald.
I think so. It's Bob McDonough. Yeah.
He looks a lot like a
Watch
guy.
yourself. Watch
Yeah.
yourself here, sir.
Yeah. That's Bob McDonough.
Fortunately, he was completely unharmed despite being out in the cold all
Oh
night.
man.
Upon realizing his identity, the news
Good
crew
old
immediately
Bob.
contacted the authorities, and it wasn't long before Robert was reunited with his family. But here's the thing, Robert returning like this was nothing more than a stroke of good luck. While his story had a somewhat happy ending, it could have just as easily turned into an irreparable
For
loss.
sure. Man, okay. Well, I am so happy that he got found. I'm so happy that all these people got found. It is a crazy, it's got to be a crazy feeling to have. I've had a, the furthest thing I've had to like a missing relative is my missing snake. My snake got out of my cage when I was a kid, and I loved this snake. And I didn't find it till like a month later. But the whole time I was just so distraught. I was so distraught. And I was like, it's got to be somewhere. And snakes need heat, right? So it was just so like, I just thought the snake was dead somewhere. But eventually I found it, and I think it was like staying in the heaters or something like that to keep warm, like the ventilation of the house or whatever. But that's nothing even close to having a missing parent, a missing kid. Like that's got to be so terrifying, and just have no idea. Like that person, like at least in most cases, wants to come home, and that person has like theoretically the ability to come home, which is terrifying because you're like, okay, what's stopping them from being able to come home? But I'm glad that these people were found. Thank you for watching this video. I will catch you on the next one.